Shocking new footage of female pleasure robots. You probably saw the news about the Chinese guy who created his own robotic Scarlett Johansson in his flat, right? Ricky Ma has caught the attention of many, not just because he managed to build a robot that looks just like the American actress, but also because he did this all alone, and because he doesn't admit the resemblance. Asking the question. The issue has already been addressed by various media outlets, but Ma doesn't seem to comprehend that. When asked if his robot could be objectifying women, he replied, "I'm not sure of this question." He states that, in spite of the robot's possibilities to interact with people, winking and smiling when you tell her she is beautiful, Mark I is used purely for scientific reasons, and there is no contact with her on a more personal level. After spending 24 years in the graphic and product design field, it seems Ma has made his childhood dream come true. He bought himself a 3D printer, spent over $50,000, and created Mark I in 18 months. But he doesn't think robots could replace humans, even though they are indeed important assets for the economy. On the other hand, Ma says that human-like robots will definitely be popular in the future. It's just a psychological thing. The high-performance machine. In the late 1970s and mid-1980s, feminists such as Donna Haraway and Anne Balsamo started a discussion about postmodernism, cyborgs, and feminism. While Haraway, in a Cyborg Manifesto, suggested the cyborg as a transgressive potential for gender roles, Balsamo, in Technologies of the Gendered Body, argued for the idea of the cyborg as metaphor for the female body in a world of non-material bodies, based on Foucault's theories on sexuality. In both cases, the concept of cyborg goes further than its meaning of a cybernetic organism. It says more about the postmodern human condition than the man-machine relationship. Years after publishing her manifesto, Haraway said she understood that people were already living as cyborgs, including herself. Kunzru also highlighted the fact that sociologists and academics from around the world have taken Haraway's lead and came to the same conclusion about themselves. That means the 1990s were the cyborg era, as people started to notice themselves less as isolated individuals and more like nodes on networks. In other words, Kunzru argues that they believed that being a cyborg isn't about how many bits of silicon you have under your skin or how many prosthetics your body contains. Later, in English pulp science fiction, the difference between mechanical robots from fleshy androids was better developed and popularized by Edmund Hamilton's Captain Future stories, 1940 to 1944. A History of Gynoids. Released in 2003 during the International Robot Exhibition in Tokyo, Eve R1 is recognized as the first gynoid ever. Costing $321,000, her name is a combination of the biblical character Eve and the letter R from robot. Her creators, a team of South Korean scientists, part of the Korea University of Science and Technology, molded her face to look like a composite of two popular Korean actresses, plus the torso of a singer. The exact women used as models were never actually revealed. Weighing 50 kilograms and standing at a height of 160 centimeters, Eve R1 was able to mimic human emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, and surprise. She could recognize 400 Korean and English words, which allowed her to give answers to questions both verbally and with 15 different facial expressions. Her successor was released during Robot World 2006 in Seoul. Eve R2 had her abilities improved, got new expressions, and became taller, 170 centimeters, and heavier, 60 kilograms. She was programmed to provide entertainment and information in department stores and museums, to read for the attending children. Still, back in 2004, Japanese scientists released Actroid Replier Q1, a gynoid that was molded after the looks of average Japanese young women. She also had a sister, Replier R1, designed to help people with obtaining information on specific locations and events. Actroid was presented in Expo 2005 in Aichi, Japan. In the timeline of realistic robots, we see more gynoids than androids. Another known example of the former is Letrung's gynoid Aiko. Able to speak in English and Japanese, she is disclosed in her official website as the meeting of beauty and science. The Vietnamese-Canadian inventor argues that Japanese society is obsessed with perfection, so he wanted to build the best realistic robot, and he has been doing this since 2007. In fact, Trung describes her as Yumecom, which means dream computer robot. While Aiko's original goal was to be a robotic caretaker for the elderly, the gynoid ended up as something else. In 2009, Daily Mail published a story about Trung spending Christmas Eve with the gynoid at his parents' house. Aiko is like any woman. She enjoys getting new clothes. I loved buying them for her too, said Trung. Aiko is able to react to physical stimuli and mimic pain, so this technology could help people who have undergone amputations to get lifelike mechanical limbs. But again, there is more to her than that. She was inspired by Japanese anime, especially Chobits 2002, which features a gynoid as one of its main characters, and her turn-on-off button is conveniently placed in her crotch. With silicone skin and a real hair wig made by a Japanese doll company, Aiko can sense if she's being stroked gently or tickled. She has sensors on her face and body, including her breasts, and yes, even down there, as Aiko's website notes. Trung admits that this has caused controversy, but his explanation for these sensors is an attempt to dispel it. I want to make it clear that I am not trying to play God. I'm just an inventor, and I believe I am helping science move forward. Speaking to the Daily Mail, Trung added that Aiko will slap you if you grab or squeeze her too hard, as she has all the senses except for smell. Still, he says the gynoid is always helpful and never complains. She is the perfect woman to have around at Christmas. The next wave. Currently, there is an American artist taking large steps in the erotica market by producing realistic love dolls. Matt McMullen started as a sculptor of female figures, and now he is the CEO of Real Doll. McMullen made the leap from passion to business after being questioned many times by people if he would turn his posable mannequins into love dolls. This led him to discover that there was indeed a market for that. Today, McMullen sells each of his dolls for at least $5,400, including male and transgender options, the latter being a customizable option not in the catalog. It took some time for McMullen to learn how to use materials such as silicone to build his love dolls, but he was always improving shapes, textures, and interaction. And now he wants to implement animatronics, artificial intelligence, and virtual reality features too. In an interview with the New York Times, McMullen said the hope is to create something that will actually arouse someone on an emotional and intellectual level, beyond the physical. In fact, Real Doll's frontman believes that it's more important to create the illusion that the doll is enjoying interaction rather than making her hips move by herself. But what overwhelms McMullen is the possibility that the doll can fake sentience, and that's why he says they need to be careful with artificial intelligence so the customers don't need to deal with a doll saying nonsensical stuff when getting confused by interaction. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.